All right, ladies and gentlemen, so here we go again. I wanted to do a quick video format style for this video because this story is so crazy that I just got to get right to the point. And I want you guys to kind of look at this story and wonder what exactly is going on in the gaming industry right now that they are actively doing this. So Sony just recently patented something that is going to be coming to their video games at some point in time, which they're labeling the bad actor detector, which is a patent that allows them to essentially give their players on their platform a social credit score. Yes, I'm not kidding. They are going full blown communism at this point, where they are trying to introduce a social credit score. This is going to be insane. And they are not the only ones who are trying to do something similar to this, right? Activision has done something like this with their Call of Duty series as well. EA has tried to do something like this in the past as well. Anytime these companies try to police the internet, it always leads to something ridiculously bad happening, and this is going to be no different. So in today's video, we're going to dive into this entire situation, and we're going to see exactly what's going on with this brand new patent that they have from Sony. So quick special shout out to all of you 88,900 Bigot Army members that are out there right now. Thank you so much for subscribing, and the 51% of you who are not subscribed, consider hitting that subscribe button today. I would greatly appreciate it. All right, guys, so let's talk about what is going on. So this entire thing is meant to essentially be a protective thing against, people being toxic, right? And they're trying to bring up this whole toxic nonsense when it comes to gaming. They've been trying to bring this up for years now, right? Gamers get called toxic more than I think any other word aside from racist. They get called toxic all the time. The gaming community is not for the faint of heart. If you are trying to join the gaming community at anything more than just a normie, you're going to realize very quickly that the competitive nature of people shines through pretty damn hard. And there are going to be people that are going to be extremely toxic. You're going to have the weaker people out there. They're going to be like, well, why do you accept it? And it's because, well, there are tools out there that have been available to you for the longest time to handle certain people that you don't want to listen to. That tool is called the mute button. It's very weird how people out there will continue to listen to these people that are berating them and being toxic to them, and then go online and complain about the toxicity when there are tools out there available to make it all go away, but they don't want to utilize it because if they do, then they can't play victim after utilizing it. But again, nobody is saying that toxicity should be allowed. All we're saying is that is a very few and far between thing in the overall gaming industry and the gaming scene as a whole, right? If you cannot handle it, then perhaps gaming online with other people is not for you. Perhaps you should just be playing by yourself at this point. But again, nobody really wants, like this article says from That Part Place, wants to target younger players for harassment, bullying, or anything like that. It's not about that, right? This is why tools like muting, blocking, and reporting exist. They're essential. But a new Sony bad actor detection patent floats an approach that goes far beyond moderation. According to a recently published filing, the Sony bad actor patent outlines a system that tracks and scores players across online multiplayer games based on how frequently they exhibit negative behavior. If a player crosses a predetermined threshold by, for example, engaging in inappropriate chat or griefing, Sony's system could automatically limit their access to online features until they improve their behavior. This is going to be one heavily abused, massive nanny bot, right? It's going to be a bot that is essentially trying to nanny the entire player base within Sony's database. This is going to be one of the most abused systems out there, because what ends up happening is the bot is always overtuned, number one, and they never want to fine tune it to the point where they rather just let the ban go through. They rather just let the the bad things happen, because then at this point they could just say, well, at least we handled it, even if we handled it a little bit too strongly. What's going to end up happening is going to start off slow. It's going to start off to the point where it might limit your ability to speak to people for XYZ amount of time. Then it might ban you from the game for 24 hours. And then eventually it might ban you permanently from the game. And then eventually after that, it might ban you from the entire PlayStation network. At this point, this level of moderation is always an overstep, and it never works out in the long run, but yet they keep trying to do this. Every company has tried to do something like this in the past. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, Activision was one of them. They were most famous for the Call of Duty bot that they have for the chat bot, and now you're going to be having something even worse for Sony. But at first glance, again, it sounds like a reasonable step towards cleaner supposed gaming spaces. But if you dig deeper, and what is Sony proposing starts to resemble something far more dystopian, which is a corporate-run social credit score, essentially for gamers. The patent was filed in October of 2024 and published on May 22nd, 2025. Details on an automated behavior detection system that evaluates players through frequency markers. The more often you break the rules or are perceived to, the more likely you are to be flagged as a bad actor. Sony's system wouldn't just mute you or warn you, it could restrict your online gameplay entirely. And while a one-time mistake might not push you past the limit, the system is built to compile and track your behavior over time, forming a persistent profile about you, the player. This is no different than if insurance companies want to force tracking on you, right? If they want to force tracking on your vehicle to see how fast you're driving and whatnot, like they have optional tracking right now. I know of a lot of insurance companies that would try to bait you into letting them track you by offering lower insurance rates, but this is no different. It's forced upon you. There's no way you can opt in or opt out. They are going to be tracking you. They're going to be listening to everything you say and do. And you're going to have people out there that are good corporate bootlickers, and they're going to be like, well, if you're not a bad boy, then it doesn't matter. And then those are the people that will be the first ones to complain when they are targeted for what they feel is unjust, which, by the way, happens quite often. A lot of these automated systems will do misfires where they go after someone that isn't necessarily doing anything bad, but nobody's going to listen to you because you said corporate daddy is never wrong. And then you end up having to sit there and complain, and everybody's like, well, we kind of told you so. And then you realize and you wake up to what you allowed to happen. This is going to be the same exact scenario. I'm sure all the Sony boys are going to cheer this on. They're going to be like, yes, we could get rid of all of those 1% of racists, all those 1% of chuds. Yeah, we could absolutely get rid of them. That's going to be good. And then we could sacrifice the other 99% in order to do it. If they end up getting to a point where it restricts your online play and your gameplay entirely, or removes you from the PlayStation Store entirely, this is going to be a huge problem for Sony, I gotta imagine. So it says that long time kind of, surveillance and behavioral grading isn't just moderation, it's essentially control. And once a system like this is embedded into the fabric of multiplayer gaming, who decides what's toxic? What qualifies as unacceptable behavior? Is it context dependent, or is it purely algorithmic? Now, again, the thing that's going to be determining what's toxic or what's not is going to be depending on how it was programmed by people that are ideologically insane to begin with. Can you imagine some wokies that work over at Sony that are trying to program this bot that is going to look for toxic behavior, and literally anything that is against leftism is going to be considered toxic? Imagine a gaming world where you can't even be honest about trans people because then you'll get banned automatically. It's insane. But again, this is a chilling parallel to China's social credit system, which again is all about tracking behavior, assigning scores, rewarding compliance and being a good old boy, and punishing any kind of deviation whatsoever. In China, this means citizens can be barred from flights, jobs, or even dating apps if they fall below a government-defined threshold. While Sony's version applies to video games, the structure is strikingly similar. Automated oversight tied to user behavior, with seemingly no transparency, no appeal process, and no room for nuance, because there is no nuance, right? This is not what it's about. It's not about having nuance in this particular situation. They don't want you to know how they're scoring you because they don't want you to fix the problem. The moment they determine you to be problematic, they want to have the ability to easily take care of you and remove you from the situation. And if they give you transparency and they give you the means to know what you may or may not do wrong, then that means you could potentially prevent it, which is not something they want to do. They want this to be used as an excuse to go after all those chuds that they hate online, the people who are supposedly toxic when they're just simply speaking their voice. So imagine if you have a place that had online forums, for example, and it was all monitored the same exact way, and your social score determined whether or not people saw your post or not. It's the same thing, man. It's a slippery slope. This entire thing is a slippery slope, and I am not surprised that people that love communistic ideals are people who are enacting communistic programs, right? Is that really shocking to anybody? Is that shocking to know that PlayStation, which is filled with extremely woke developers that love communism, are now pushing things that are very similar to communism? I feel like that should not be shocking at all. But the article says this is not a slippery slope argument. It's a direct blueprint match. Only instead of being run by a government, it's run by a gaming corporation. That makes it no less dangerous because when a tech company normalizes behavior-based restrictions in one area, it becomes that much easier to apply it elsewhere. The Sony bad actor patent may be marketed as a tool for positivity, which it never is, by the way. But under the surface, it reflects the kind of behavioral control we once warned only could happen in authoritarian regimes. Now it's being built into entertainment platforms that we use every day, which is, like this article says, setting a dangerous precedent. So anybody who is okay with this, I hope you understand the precedent that you are allowing to be set for not only yourself in modern day, but the future for all your kids as well. The kids are going to be growing up with this stuff, and they're going to be growing up in a world where they're going to be to believe that a social system, a social credit system of some kind, is okay. And people will argue, well, we already have the credit system, which is kind of like that. But obviously, that is not the same because that's about responsibility in the sense of whether or not you're paying your freaking bills or not. This is totally different. This is about whether or not you're being a good old boy and whether or not you agree with the ideology of the people who are setting this particular program in place. So if you agree with Sony, great. If you don't agree with Sony, well, you're not allowed. It's a really bad precedent, and people are going to let it slide because it's a private company. But again, they're going to come up with any excuse possible. But when it comes for them, and it will, they're going to be the first ones to cry about it. So you guys can let me know in the comments down below. What are you thinking here? Is this a, fair system? Is this something you're looking forward to? Do you think this is actually going to fix the supposed toxic positivity? Or is this basically communism in gaming? Is this them trying to utilize this system to push this ideology that they so desperately want to be able to push and control you as a gamer? You could let me know in the comments down below. Special shout out to all of the Bigot Army members who hit that join button. Thank you guys so much for your support. And if you are not joined on this channel yet, consider hitting that join button today. I would greatly appreciate it. And I will see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.